Hello and welcome to episode 134 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is March 14th, 2022. Today I'm wearing a crochet shawl that's made out of squares. So this is one of the squares. You can see the motif in the middle, and then there's the next square and they are crocheted together. And the original pattern was for a triangular shawl. So you started off with one square at the tip, and then you would add squares. And then the top line, you could crochet triangles, I think, so that you get a straight line. But I didn't like that. So what I did is I crocheted together 4 squares as the pattern said, but then I added another 4 squares on one side of the big square, and then I crocheted another 4 little squares into one big square and added them to the other side of the first square. So I ended up with a shawl that looks like a triangular shawl at one end or in the middle of it, and then the other 2 bits, they kind of look like a shawl. It's a bit difficult to explain, but it's a shape I really like a lot. I haven't done it too often yet. I want to do more like that because here it looks as if I was wearing a normal shawl with long ends, but in the back I have the tip of a triangle, so my whole back is covered, and in the front I have plenty of material that I can wrap myself into. I can wrap the 2 ends around like this, especially if I'm wearing a jacket or a coat. Yeah, I like this. As I said, I like this shape a lot. I can throw one end over. I can pull the tip a bit to the side like this, so I can have one end in the front and one in the back, or I could even wear the triangle part in front and then wrap the whole thing around like this. So there's many ways to wear these shawls, and I really like the shape, and it just reminds me I have to do that again. I have several patterns that call for this shape that I haven't made yet, so I could do those, or I could come up with my own pattern. We'll see. But anyway, I am also wearing my Pappus pullover. It's finished, it's washed. It's not really, I didn't really block it, as I said. I just laid it flat to dry. The arms are almost long sleeves. Not quite, I wasn't quite sure how long they would be, but I'm quite happy with them. I like that length. I did the neckline a bit smaller than the pattern called for, because I knew that the neckline in the pattern is really wide. So I think I cast off 10 stitches less, 5 on this side, 5 on that side, and it's still fairly wide. I think it's okay like this. I wouldn't have wanted it any bigger than that. Yeah, and the length is just a bit longer than the screen, so it actually is like a long pullover. It's not a tunic yet. I'm not sure it's the best length for my body shape, but I don't mind. I like the pullover the way it is. It's soft, it's warm. I think it's beautiful. I'm really happy with how the colors got muted through the black alpaca silk yarn. Yeah, the yarn I was using is 1 ball of Noro Tayo lace yarn, and then I used the Mohair silk by Hansa Farm, how the 2 yarns double, and this is what I have left. This is what the ball looks like now. It looks the other way. It's wound the other way than it was last week. So there's the red in the middle, and there's some black and grey and a little bit of green, and then the beige on the outside. I think it's that color that's up here. So, and this is 20 grams. So I was quite surprised when I got rid of the paper thing that was inside. I weighed it and it's 20 grams. So I could have knit the pullover quite a bit longer, but as I said, I'm really happy with the length and the way it looks. whether it's flattering on me or not. I don't really care. I just like the way it feels, and yeah, that's the most important thing for me. I'm not quite sure what to do with those 20 grams. I will probably use them again with the black mohair silk, so I get the same look as with the pullover, and I might knit a little cowl, just so that I can wear it with a pullover, so it looks as if it had a collar or something. Yeah, and then I can wear it with a pullover, I can wear it by itself. I could probably knit something like wrist warmers, but as the sleeves are fairly long, I don't feel like I need that. But there's nothing around my neck with that pullover, so I think that'd be a good addition to do that. Here you can see this blue kind of color, this dark blue. So yeah, be really nice to do that. You will find out, you will learn whenever I start something with this leftover yarn. Yeah, that's everything about what I'm wearing today. Then on to finished objects. I have 2 finished objects and I have 2 new cast-ons. So this week things work out quite nicely. And the first finished object is the dark hat I was knitting, and I was debating whether to give it to my brother or whether to keep it for myself. I'm really happy with the hat. This is what it looks like. So it has quite a nice brim, depending on how big your head is. It's either smaller or bigger. The hat fits me. I'm really happy with it, but I've decided I will give it away, and I will knit the same hat again for myself, but I'll be using the alpaca sock yarn because that's so much softer even than the sock yarn with the silk. And I will probably knit a black one for myself because that's just the easiest hat to combine with things. I know I tend to lose all the black hats I make, but I'll give it another try. Yeah, but this hat is finished. I'll put it to the side, and I will try and knit some more hats, and then they can go to my brother's, and hopefully my sister can take them when she goes there this year. Otherwise I'll have to send them. Yeah, so there'll be more men's hats in my future. Okay, and the other finished object won't be a surprise. These are my finished Sockmadness qualifying pattern socks. The pattern is called Engelkristall, which means angel's crystal. It's by Kaya Gossens, who's also known as Lana Filia. And she has a German podcast where she explains all about designing these socks and a bit of the process that goes into designing socks for the Sockmadness. That was quite interesting to listen to. And she also has other designs in her Ravelry shop. So if you like these socks the way I do, you might want to check out her other designs. Yeah, I finished them ahead of time. I would have had time until the day after tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Then the 2 weeks are up. I finished them. When did I finish them? I think I finished them on Friday and sent the email, and then Saturday I got the answer that I qualified. So I'm waiting for the qualification period to end and then to be put into a team. Yeah, I think I talked about the pattern last week. I still really like the way the pattern comes out. I used a 3mm needle because I thought with all the cables they might get too tight otherwise, but they ended up being huge. So it's a European size 43 that I ended up with. I will donate the socks to the organization who help women with ovarian cancer, and I'm sure some woman will be happy to receive them who has big feet, and I hope she'll be really happy, and I hope she'll get well. And yeah, but as I said, I really like the pattern, so I'm thinking about which colors to use to knit a pair for myself. That I might use a smaller needle then to get so they get smaller because of the needle, but then I will also knit them a lot shorter so that I can use the other chart for the end before the toe, and also so that they fit me. I'll let you know when I get around to doing that. Yeah, but I'm really happy with the finished socks. I'm happy that I qualified, and I'm looking forward to the first round of the madness. Okay, then on to works in progress, and I'll continue with socks. I continued knitting on my 24-day socks by Emma Potter from the Potter and Bloom podcast, and I am not using 24 different colors the way she suggests for using advent calendar yarns, but for the first sock I used 5 different colors, then decided to just use one of the colors for the foot of the sock, and then for the second sock I decided to use this color, but combined with green, as there's no green in this skein. So that's what I did. They do look quite different from each other, even though every 5th stripe is green on both socks, but that's not a lot. But still you can see that they go together, and I still love the pattern a lot. And yeah, hope to continue this week, as there is no sock madness to be done this week. The black is the alpaca sock yarn by Hansa Farm. That's the yarn that I'm thinking of using for a hat for myself. So soft, so soft. Okay, the next pair of socks that I worked on are is the pattern Pink Lemonade, which was a warm-up pattern in the Sock Madness last year, and I caught my pattern Grey Lemonade because my sister wanted grey socks. And again, this is the alpaca sock yarn by Hansa Farm, and I just continued knitting on the foot, and I almost finished. 2, 3, 4, 5. I think this is the last pattern repeat, and then I can do the toe. So they should be finished soon, and then I might keep them in my shop for a bit longer to show people what the yarn looks like knitted up. But then as soon as my sister wants to have them, she can have them, and she can start wearing them, and I want to see how they wear, how they wash. So I'll be really happy for her to have them and use them a lot. The next pair of socks that I'm supposed to show you are the cat socks that I'm knitting for my nephew, and I did knit on them. I added a few rounds to the leg, I knit the heel, and I started with the foot, and I forgot to bring the project. I'm not quite sure where it is at the moment. I didn't see it when I was at home, but it's not anywhere here in the shop, so I probably put it in some bag to take it along somewhere, and I must have left it in the bag, and so I didn't see it this morning, and I will show you next week. I promise. I'll make sure it's here next week. That's all the socks that I've been working on. To other projects, onto small projects I'm knitting out of sock yarn. And both my new cast-ons are sock yarn projects, but I'll show the other new project later on. But the first new cast-on I want to show you is another hat, and I'm using this yarn. And this is a very special yarn because it was hand-dyed for me. Mickey dyed this yarn for me. She only started dyeing yarn, and she dyed this especially for me, as she knows that I love blues and turquoise colors. So it's quite blue, as you can see, but it has little speckles of purple and green in them, and it looks so beautiful. And it's a 6-ply or DK weight sock yarn that she used, and shortly before I got the yarn from her, I saw the new hat pattern by Hunter Hammerson, who designed a hat that has a bit of a unusual form. So it has like little ears on the sides, and she also designed a pair of mittens to go with the hat. But she wanted to see as many hats as possible on people's heads. So she said, if you buy the pattern for the hat and you knit the hat and you publish a photograph of you wearing the hat, then you get the pattern for the mittens for free. So that was a great idea. I thought I'd love to make this hat. It looks very funny, very nice, very beautiful. So I was thinking of which yarn to use. Of course, I wanted to use opal yarn, but their colorful yarn is often very colorful, so the cable pattern might have got lost. So, but I didn't want to use a unicolored yarn, so I wasn't quite sure what to do. And then Mickey came along with this yarn, and I thought that'd be perfect for that project. So that's what I did. I started the hat Decorum by Hunter Hammerson. This is what it looks like. And what she does with this pattern is very genius, I'd say, in that she gives several gauges and several sizes. So you can look what gauge you're knitting and then what size your head is, and then you can pick how many stitches you need to cast on. So that's a very clever way of doing things. So yeah, this is what I have knit so far. You start off with the brim that can be folded up later on if you want. I like a folded brim because it means the ears are warmer, but with this pattern, the bad thing about flipping up the brim is that the cable pattern will get lost. So yeah, I don't know what to do yet, but I'll have to knit a few more repeats, then I have to try it on, and then the decreases are the fun bit and the finishing of the hat. And then I will try to finish it this week so I can post a picture of me wearing this hat in time to qualify for getting the mitten pattern for free. So in case you want to do the same, go find the pattern and knit your own decorum hat. Yeah, so that's that for small projects out of sock yarn. Then onto the clothes I'm knitting at the moment, and I made sure to knit on all of them in the last week. Not always a lot, but I'll start off with the party cardie, the black jacket that will get a rainbow collar once the jacket is finished, and I continue knitting on the sleeve. Probably can't see a big difference, but the sleeve has grown. I'm almost down to my elbow. I haven't done any decreases yet as the sleeve is fairly small, and I don't want the sleeve of a cardigan to be too tight. So I'm going to knit to below the elbow, then I'll do some decreases. And I want a longer sleeve than the pattern calls for, so I'll have to decide for myself how many decreases to do. And then I'm not going to finish the sleeve, but I'm going to put the stitches on waste yarn and then start the second sleeve, because I am thinking of adding a colorful cuff to the sleeve once the collar section is done and I know how much yarn I have left. So just a bit of round and round black knitting and there'll be more of that to come. That's the party cardie, the rainbow cardie. Then I knit on my Raglano pullover out of opal sock yarn, and again that was some very simple knitting, just some 2x2 rib, round and round, no thinking involved knitting. So it has grown a bit, but as you can see it has to grow further. I'm still not quite sure how long to make the pullover. It's not supposed to be a short one, but I don't really want a tunic or dress, so it will probably be not the same length as the pullover I'm wearing, probably a little bit shorter because it's a bit tighter. It's not really tight, but because of the rib pattern it doesn't fall as loosely as the one I'm wearing. So I was thinking of probably doing it a little bit shorter than the one I'm wearing, so it still qualifies as a long pullover, or maybe a normal pullover. Is there something as a normal pullover? I don't know. We'll see. I'll just keep knitting and then I'll keep you posted on how things develop. This is the yarn. This is the third ball of yarn that I'm using. These are 150 gram balls, and I'm pretty sure it'll be enough to finish the pullover, but we'll see. So that's that. And then I continued working on my mealy vest. I'm knitting that out of opal 4-ply yarn held double with the brushed alpaca by Hansa Farm. And as you can see, I finished the collar. I just knitted the live stitches down on the inside. I think worked out quite nicely. I had to be careful when I started sewing it down. I started showing the black yarn on this side, so I had to be careful not to stitch into these stitches. If you use the same color yarn, I think it doesn't matter. If it had been the same color, you probably wouldn't have noticed that there was a bit of yarn showing on this side. But because I'm using the black, I had to be really careful. But I think it worked out nicely. I will sew this together once the other button band is done. Haven't sewn this shut yet, but I will sew this down along here so that this side will show just the black, and yeah, and on this side you can see the grey. As you can see, I finished the first button band. I have almost decided, well, I have decided that I'm not going to do a second button band with buttonholes in the middle because it's a bit too tight to overlap the both bands. So I will knit the same button band on this side without holes, and then I will either leave it without any buttons, or the other idea I have is I might add little buttonholes on the edge of this button band, and then I can put some buttons like on the edge of this button band, and then when I button it close, the two bands will sit next to each other instead of on top of each other, so that the vest will just be a little bit wider than it is at the moment. So that's the plan, but I wasn't really sure what to do yet, so I just left it for the moment to keep thinking about it. But as you can see, it's almost done. Just this button band, and then weave in the ends, and it'll be done. So looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to wearing this a lot. Yeah, so that's all the clothes I'm working on. Then on to the crochet projects. Did I show the blanket last week? I hope I did, because I didn't bring it this week. I'd forgotten that I hadn't finished the last square I was working on, and I haven't put any new ones in, so I didn't bring it today. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. The crochet projects. I did not put any work into the Arietes squares, the blue-white squares that I'm working on to make this little mini blanket kind of thing. Had no time for that. I will make sure to work on them this week, but I put a few rows on the dinosaur blanket I'm working on. This is the pattern Stomp, and it's this new technique that I learned especially for crocheting this blanket. So you have like two different blankets that you crochet at the same time, and whenever you change the front and back sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean. And I only added a few rows, didn't get to work on it too much, but you can see those 3 leaves or whatever it is, and you can see I crocheted the second toe of the first foot of the dinosaur, and there's more grass here, and then this leaf is already finished, and then you can see the other 2 leaves that are working up here. And yeah, can't wait to keep crocheting on that. That's really, really exciting. And that brings us to the knit-alongs. And yes, there are 2 knit-alongs again. I am still working on my Wolkig, the free Martina Behm pattern for this beautiful cowl. It's getting quite long, but as it is so fine, it's still not too much to wear around the neck, but it is getting long enough to wear around the neck like this, like a mini scarf, and I'm down to 10 grams. So I will probably need another 2 or 3 weeks to knit those 10 grams. The whole thing is only 50 grams. It's really amazing. I use the 200 stitches that the pattern calls for. I'm using a 4mm needle, the way the pattern says, and I'm just amazed at how much knitting I'm getting out of these 50 grams of lace yarn. So if you need a holiday project or a travel project where you have little yarn, but lots and lots and lots and lots of knitting, I can recommend getting this Angora yarn by Seidenhase and knitting a Wolkig cowl. It'll keep you busy with very little luggage for a long time. And the second knit along that we have started is the Star Cushion Asterisk by Gudrun Ohle. And last week I showed you the little one that I knit while I filmed the tutorial. I haven't translated it into English yet, but I will do that as soon as possible. The German video has been released, and yeah, the whole reason behind doing the knit along for the cushion was actually that I had promised my sister to knit her a star cushion out of this yarn years ago, and I never got around to doing that, so I decided I'll do a knit along, and that gets me to actually making this star cushion. So this yarn is by Rico, which is the company that I used to work for, and the yarn is called Las Vegas. It's as you can see, it's a 4-ply sock yarn with glitter in it. It's probably not available anymore because I've had it for a long time. And I started knitting it, only started it. So this is one of the middle pieces that you start knitting before you do the star ends. I have to look up what they are called in English before I translate the tutorial. Yeah, but this is what the start looks like. I had this stitch marker lying around with the yarn for years and years, which is so crazy, but I thought it looks so nice. It really goes well with the yarn. Yeah, so this is all the knitting I have done on this star cushion so far, but I will continue knitting on it as soon as possible. And before I sign off, I wanted to show you some new colors that Opal came out with this month. It's a new series called Beauty. They came out with a series called Beauty last year for the first time, and it's a 4-ply sock yarn that has some vitamin E and some extract from that flower, Edelweiss. Not sure whether there's an English name for it, but it means the yarn is softer than the normal sock yarn, and it will be good for your hands while you knit, and it'll be good for your skin when you wear whatever you've knitted. Yeah, and it was a rather popular series last year, so I decided to get the new series as well. There are only 6 colors, so some of Opal's series have 8 colors, some have 6 colors. With this, we got 6 new colors. It's this blue, then there's a lighter blue colorway, and then there's this colorway with blue and a bit of green and red. This is one of my favorite colorways. I really, really like it. Then there's this bright pink that I think is fantastic. Has a bit of red and a bit of purple in between. Then there's this light colorway with green and orange. And then there's this is the most popular colorway in my shop, so they have all gone already. So I kept one for myself, but the other 9 have already left the building. And yeah, so this is a really fun, colorful colorway. And I have plans, or I have a rather crazy plan for those 2 colorways. I think they look nicely together, but I have a 3rd color in mind that I want to combine with those 2. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do what I've planned, but I'll talk more about it once I've started. Yeah, that's everything I can show you this week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!